You should never worry about the opinions of other people because the only people that are going to judge you are the ones that haven't done it. Because the ones that have done it or are successful, they're going to encourage you.
Jason, let's say one of your friends came to you and said, I want to make movies. What real world advice would you give to he or she?
I would say you only live once that we know of. So if you feel like you really want to make a movie, go make that movie. Because to your question earlier, how are you going to look back on your life? Are you going to look back on your life with regret? Or are you going to look back on your life with, man, I gave it my best shot? If you feel like you want to make a movie, you want to write a movie, you want to act in a movie, you're struggling, you're working your 9 to 5, you have your kid, that shouldn't stop you. So prime example, I work my 9 to 5, but I still wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Why? Because I get to work out, I get to edit my films, I get to work on it before the day even starts. So by the time the day starts, and I have to do like real world work, I would say, right? I've already accomplished my baby steps of my creativity. Those baby steps become giant leaps over time, right? That 1 goes to 2, that 2 goes to 3, and before you know it, the movie or the project is finished. I use that same process when I'm writing a script, right? Just write a page a day, and then you get to the end. So if someone said, hey man, I really want to make this movie, I would say, okay, write the script. With every scene in your script, separate it. So if the movie takes place in a gas station, a house, a club, and a law firm, those are your 4 locations. So hypothetically, by breaking it down by scenes per location, you can probably get this done in 4 days. 4 shoot days, you can shoot this and possibly get it done. Now, after shooting it in those 4 days, maybe you need a couple backup days. So let's say 6 days, right? When that's done, who's gonna edit it? Are you gonna edit it or are you gonna hire someone to edit it? Okay, now you figured out who's gonna edit it. Okay, who's gonna do the sound design and the post-production? You're gonna do it or someone else is gonna do it? Okay, you're gonna hire someone, okay, what's the cost associated with that? Now when that's all done, you have a completed movie. But my biggest advice would be, do everything yourself the first time around. Why? Because you're gonna learn the necessary skills that you need to then when you hire someone else to do these things that you're either great at or you're not good at, you know where you lack. And I would say go for it. 100% of the time, because the average man lives to what? 70s, mid 70s. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. You just don't want to look back on life questioning like, man, I wish I would have did it. Because in hindsight, we all do that. Anytime there's a missed opportunity that hits your gut, afterwards you always say, I should have did it.
Okay, so I like that. What if someone is not, it's not necessarily finances that are stopping them. Maybe they're not like some elite 1% person, but they have their bases covered, health insurance, everything. Their kids are good, but there's a social pressure. And if they fail in front of colleagues at work or family or in-laws, now like there could be social pressure and there could be finger pointing like,
Sure.
so you made this movie instead of, you could have taken them on a vacation.
Sure.
And there's this feeling of shame
Okay.
because you took care of your own needs rather than having a new pool installed.
You have to fix your leak roof before you can help out your neighbor's broken door. So I would say you should never feel shame for presenting your feelings of creativity and your thought process to the world. My movies haven't made these profits that should warrant me being on movie number 6, right? But my soul's like, nah, I gotta eat. I have to eat. I have to create. So therefore, I keep creating. You should never worry about the opinions of other people because the only people that are going to judge you are the ones that haven't done it. Because the ones that have done it or are successful, they're going to encourage you because the ones that have done it knows what it takes. The ones that are successful knows what it really takes to get to their level. So what you'll realize in life is anyone that's doing better than you from the outside, the perception, they'll more likely encourage you than they will to dismiss you. And why is that? Is because the people that I've come across, and I'll say this with Speed Faster. We're working on a film that's called Speed Faster. It's the sequel to Four Amigos, but we're shooting it as a standalone film. These guys have Ferraris, Lamborghinis, like Phantom, Rolls Royces, all these really expensive cars. They do really well. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, right? Heartwarming, just very loving. And where that comes from, I think, is when you work so hard to build something and you see someone else over there on level 1, but they have the energy and the dedication and the tenaciousness to build it up, there's a respect and there's an appreciation for that process. So if you're in the beginning stages and you're like, hey, I'm gonna do this, people are gonna dislike it. That's art. People are gonna hate it. That's art. Do you like it? Because you're not competing against James. You're competing against the person you were yesterday. And I can say that as an artist, I'm way better today than I was yesterday. That in itself is a win. As a husband, as a human being, as a father, I'm way better today than I was yesterday. And I think every experience in life helps with that. Prime example. I know that as a human being, I grew, and I think art and everything helps because it was my sister's birthday yesterday. And normally I don't tell people happy birthday. I just don't. I don't expect it from people, and I just typically don't say it. But the thought process occurred to me, how would she feel if she got a happy birthday from me, right? Because I'm the older brother. She's never gotten it from me before. So I said, happy birthday. I sent her some money, all that good stuff that a bigger brother does. And she was so grateful for it that I was like, I guess that's empathy. I don't know what it is, but this is like the first time in my life in my late 30s where I'm like thinking, how would my actions affect the thought process in the day of someone else compared to I'm just in my own lane. This is the goal I'm trying to get accomplished. Everything else doesn't matter. It's a fascinating thing.
Sorry, I'm confused. Why don't you believe in wishing happy birthday?
It's not that I don't believe in
okay.
it. Yeah, no. I don't. It's not that I don't. It's just I typically I don't think about it. So
Right.
even on my birthday, I don't tell people when it's my birthday. I don't
Sure.
celebrate. I just kind of like, okay, cool. Like I got things to do. So it's just one of those things where I've never put any weight to it.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
No, there is something to that because if certain social media companies know your birthday, they might announce it to followers and things like that, and it makes it weird. There's like an obligation.
Sure.
You feel this weird social obligation. So that makes sense. But so okay, because I know before when we talked last time you came, you shared an intimate moment where your family realized that it was very important for you to make films.
Sure.
And they got it, and it was a magical time when you told us about that because a lot of people do get pressure, especially maybe men that are parents and things that you
I have another moment like that.
Oh,
too.
you do? Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
So we did a not a premiere, but a screening of Always Smile, which is a movie about two brothers and their bond. And my wife was in the audience, and she watched the audience react and bring their family members and everything. And she looked at me and said, "I get it." And up until that film, my wife wasn't necessarily an advocate through words. She was an advocate through action because she would let me make the movies, right? I have to get her approval. But in that moment, she was like, I get it. The way it affects people, their families, the storytelling. I now understand it. Whereas before, I think there was a disconnect because she would see me put in all this work and all this effort to make a movie, and the funds, right? The win through monetary means wouldn't necessarily match the effort. And she would look at me and I don't want to say see the disappointment, but from a loving partner standpoint, be why do you keep putting yourself through this? But then when she saw the, not that I don't want to say premiere, because it's being submitted to festivals, but when she saw the screening, she looked at me and said, I get it.
Nice.
And that was a win as a husband, as a creative. It was like, thank you. This is what I do it for, right? This is like, I'm looking 30 years later when I'm old and I don't have the energy anymore. And I'm sitting with my grandchild and I'm like, look at your granddaddy. Look, this is how we used to do it. So yeah, it was a good moment.
So it was a second form of validation.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. That's beautiful.